If you're not going to give 110%, then keep your filthy hands off my rock. We'll talk about it right here on Locked On Clemson.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked On Clemson, part-time host and producer over on 105.5 FM The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And a big salute out there to my everydayers. You know who you are, and you know how we do it here on Locked On. Exclusive Clemson content Monday through Friday, every single week. And if you're new to the show, well, welcome in. Thanks for being a part of the show. If you like the video, which I know you will, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. If you're also over on the podcast as well, make sure you follow if you like what you're hearing, because you don't want to miss these episodes, especially, at this season. Today's show, we've got a lot to discuss. We're going to go over still more thoughts on the Syracuse game. You might have seen or listened to what I said after the Syracuse loss. We do post-game shows here, but we're going to continue our thoughts on the game and really where can Clemson go from here and what we're seeing and if there is any sort of solution. Before we get into it, though, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Now, I wanted to start with a question that came online from the radio this morning, and it was about Howard's Rock running down the hill and about the fact that, the saying is from Howard's Rock that they play before they do it is, if you're not going to give 110%, then keep your filthy hands off my rock. And the question was posed from the texter, if this team should be running down the hill anymore, if this team should be rubbing the rock and doing the entrance with the amount of effort that we're seeing, or the lack of effort that we're seeing, the lack of results we're seeing, the poor execution. I mean, really, top to bottom, this team has problems all over the place. There's not one area where you're saying to yourself, outside of maybe the punter, where you're saying to yourself, wow, this area just has it together and the rest of them just need to rally around that. Maybe there's a few players here and there, but running down the hill is a tradition that is it being taken for granted? A lot of fans get mad about the fact that they kind of just walk down the hill or they just trot down the hill. They don't run anymore. Maybe there's some concerns about injuries or whatever. I don't know. But it doesn't seem like it used to be when you go to the top of the hill. For the past couple of years now, it seems as if there's not this fire at the very beginning of the game. And more or less, it's just a tradition that these players just have to go through, like a box to check. And maybe there should be some ramifications for just checking boxes or just treating your career, your profession, because let's be honest with you, that's what it is. Your profession at this point, you're being paid with some benefits of going to college. Maybe this shouldn't be allowed for this team. Now I'll say there's been a lot of there's been a lot of bad teams in Clemson's history. So don't get me wrong. There's been a lot of disappointing teams, frustrating teams, and coaches losing their jobs over poor performances. So, and they still ran down the hill. They still rubbed the rock. But why is it different? So why is it different for this team? Well, I think a lot of it has to go with the preseason expectations. And Dabo Swinney would say, well, that's not on us. Your expectations were imposed on us. But it is up to them to perform at a level that was expected for someone who is a senior, or a junior, these players that are getting ready to go into the NFL are getting worse. And it's not just one player. And really, when you look at it, the best players on the team are guys who are relatively young or new to their position or new to the team in general. On defense, who's the best player on the team? Well, it's got to be Will Held. I mean, by far, he's been the guy that's been giving you the most motor every single down, been getting to the backfield. And he wasn't even on the team last year or 2 years. This is his first year with Clemson. Transfer portal guy, believe it or not. On the offense, who is your best player? Well, Adam Randall. Adam Randall, the forgotten star, the forgotten hometown guy, the South Carolina guy that lost his position at wide receiver and is getting his final chance to make something happen in a brand new role. And he's putting forth every part of effort possible to get in to the NFL as a running back now. And he's actually doing really well. He fits the role perfectly. Now, does he make mistakes? Yeah, but it's not because of lack of effort. So you've got some effort from some guys. Bryant Wesco, second-year player, leading the team as a wide receiver, making big plays, making touchdowns, but only 2 years into the program. Not a guy who really came from a previous era, right? So you're looking at Clemson and you're saying, well, maybe they should just go out of the tunnel against SMU. Now they have a bye week and then they have 2 away games. But when they come back against SMU, should they just be allowed to run out of the tunnel? I tell you what, that would be a shock to the system. But are we at that point where there needs to be a shock to the system? Maybe. Honestly, I'm not opposed to it. Maybe they can run down the hill, but maybe the rock part, maybe that keep your filthy hands off my rock part needs to be removed. Some people in my comments are saying that they need to remove the paw from the helmet. You know, my high school used to do that. You wouldn't get the W on your helmet until you prove something. And I think it was really more towards practice, but at the end of the day, there has to be something because these guys are getting paid. They're getting everything they want. The staff's getting everything they want. Dabo's getting everything they want, but they're not producing. So something has to be taken away other than just wins and losses. Something has to be reset. Now, if it's not running down the hill, what can it be? If it's not rubbing the rock, what can it be? And one person gets in, maybe they should lock the rock down. I agree. Maybe they should lock the rock down. You know, it does take away from the effort of Adam Randall, Bryant Wesco. And also, can you fully say that it was all effort, though? Some of these guys are giving a lot of effort, but are just not at the talent level or have peaked at a level that was below expectation. And so maybe that is not due to effort. Maybe it's just due to their talent is maxed out. They're never going to be a 99 overall player. As much as I want to be, as a kid, wanted to be Allen Iverson, I'm never going to be Allen Iverson. I wanted the tattoos. I wanted the cool look. Wanted the hair, wanted everything, wanted the money, wanted the three-pointers, wanted the shoes, everything. But I'm not going to be that guy. Even if I practiced till I was, what do they say, the 10,000 hours, I was never going to be that guy. So what can they do? How can they hold the team accountable? Well, I think one thing that they need to do to reset the culture and to refresh this team, at least in 2025, because you can't replace them, is to sit them on the bench. If they're making mistakes repeatedly, you got to sit them on the bench. They can't keep being starters doing that. Hey, we'll talk about more of the Syracuse game and where I feel they got embarrassed the most right here on Locked On Clemson. Quick question for all you college football fans out there. If you could go back in time and sit front row at your school's biggest rivalry game, what hat would you be wearing? Yeah, I said it. What hat? For me, it would be the game. These aren't just hats. They're the same vintage styles you wore back in the 80s and 90s. And guess what? They still go for the same price they did back then. And when you use code Locked On, you'll get your vintage hat for just $16.99. So what are you waiting for? Go head over to thegamecaps.com and grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design and use code Locked On for an exclusive discount, because legends wear the game. Continuing the discussion about the Syracuse game, I previously mentioned about effort and what's happening to this team. One of the shocking areas, or a few main areas that I feel are the most shocking for this team, is that the defense is getting worse. Every week we see a defense that is getting worse. I mean, you look at a scenario where I said that the running attack for Syracuse was about the same as Clemson. Well, they were, but I didn't expect that the running game would be one that would dominate Clemson, especially at the start of the game. Yassine Willis, from the very first snap, ran through the defense with no problem. 7 yards per carry in the first quarter. Syracuse's offensive line dominated Clemson's defensive front. And this defensive front was supposed to be elite. By the end of the first quarter, Syracuse was up 10 and already in quickly up 10 and already in a deep hole. Clemson was already in a deep hole. Missing tackles. You've got missed tackles from TJ Parker. You got Peter Woods that can't even get close enough for a tackle. You got Wade Woodaz that trips over his own feet and can't tackle. You got Sammy Brown that gets eat up by an offensive lineman. I mean, it was bad from top to bottom on the front seven of this defense. Missed tackles everywhere, arm tackles, slow reaction times. When Peter Woods was recruited, what did people say about him? Well, he's a 5-star guy, but maybe he's not a 5-star guy because of his arm, his wingspan, his arm length. He's got shorter arms. And we all joked and laughed. Go back and watch the game against Syracuse. Peter Woods is struggling to run anybody down, to catch anybody off the sides. He's struggling to break double teams. And when he's not double teamed, they just got to run away from him. If they run away from him, he can't hunt them down. And if they're even if they're relatively close, he can't get a hand on them. His range of attack is very narrow. And he cannot keep up with guys that are going around him. He's not able to make plays. And then TJ Parker, we thought he would be much better than he is. He got a sack in garbage time. Basically, the team was already down 20, I believe, or at least double digits. TJ Parker, I think the sack was at the end of the second or the first half, and it was, meaningless because the clock was ticking and they were trying to hold on to the ball to throw a deep ball. So TJ Parker has not impressed all season. He's been getting tied up one-on-one against a right tackle. And when he does get any space or when he does have opportunity, he can't chase him down. He's had more penalties against him than sacks. And that's not good. And when you can't get pressure on a quarterback, which we thought this would be the game that they would actually get pressure, significant pressure on the quarterback. And they didn't get any pressure really in the first half. That was significant. And by that time, they were already losing. When you're not doing that, and then your defensive coordinator stays in a cover one constantly, cover one, cover zero. Well, if you're not getting pressure and that defense is man-to-man, in your face, cover one, cover zero, you're exposing your secondary and forcing them to get schooled to the outside, to get beat. leading to explosive passing plays. And we knew that Syracuse was confident in their passing game. They had a tight end that was their go-to guy. They had 2 outside wide receivers. They had a slot guy that was really fast and could get open. And then the solution was not to play zone for Clemson's defense. The solution was to just play a soft coverage man, which even makes it even less sense. You're not getting any pressure. So not having any sort of zone defensive schemes out there is baffling. Makes no sense. The defensive line is not living up to what they were supposed to be living up to. And the coach and Tom Allen has banked on pressure, and it's not there. Every single player that had an opportunity to go to the NFL draft in 2026 is seeing their draft stock plummet. I mean, how many of these guys did we mention could be first-round draft picks, first-rounders, and yet now we don't see any first-rounders in this team. And you could try to convince me Peter Woods, but I guarantee you they're going to pick him apart when it comes to his wingspan and his range of attack to the outside because he's getting exposed. The defense is regressing every week. They can't stop the run. They're getting gashed in the run game because they're getting blocked up. They're getting covered up all the way to the second level. They can't stop the pass because they're not getting any pressure. And the defense is playing man zone soft. This is not Clemson's defense. I think that Dabo Swinney may have made a huge mistake hiring Tom Allen because what he's trying to do, now he may be a great motivator. He may be a great practice coach. He may be a guy that's really lighting a fire under these guys. But what he's trying to do and what these players can do is not matching up. The 4-2-5, cover 1, cover 0, straight man on the outsides, and no pressure is not working. We all can see it. Where is the adjustments? Where's the variety? Where's the disguise? There's no disguising anything. It's get to the quarterback or bust, and they're busting right now. And it's getting worse week over week. And now they have to sit on it on a bye week and drown in their sorrows about it. 98 rushing yards in 15 minutes? That's not Death Valley defense. That's not Clemson defense. What is wrong with this team? It goes from effort. You see them slowly trotting around. It goes from execution, play calling, and player rotation. I've never seen a Clemson defense rotate this much. I mean, they get one play and they have to come off the field. They get 2 plays to come off the field. They're constantly on and off the field. And then it's not just 1 or 2 players. It's the entire defense. It's like an entire defensive line completely swapped out. When was that supposed to be the strategy? The defense is getting worse. So whatever they got to do in the offseason or in the bye week to figure it out, they better do it because it's a long season ahead. The effort's got to be there. And Dabo Swinney says the players care. He says the players care and they want to make it right. Well, you can tell me all of that all you want, but Saturdays are Saturdays and they're 1-3. All right, to wrap up the show, we got to talk about the most important person on the team, the quarterback. And what are the problems that we're seeing with him right here on Locked On Clemson? Season is here and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your first bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it's quick and easy. You can play on Saturdays, Sundays, fantasy, same game parlays. You can keep things going, and live action too. In case you just don't know what to do on the week, you can just look in and see what they've got going on live. Really fun, really exciting. So are you ready to go over there and play? Download the FanDuel app now. Visit FanDuel.com. You can also go over on FanDuel.com. They got a great research site as well. I don't know everything about everything, but man, these guys do. So you can go over their website on the research side and really figure out to get yourself started. So go over to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet today. This episode is also brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spot runs on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar packed with game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, the corner deli that's been serving communities for decades. These places bring people together. When neighborhoods, businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. I've told you about Chestnut Coffee House and Market. They have one in Verde, in Greenville, Five Forks, right where I live, Simpsonville, and Clemson, family owned and operated, and a bunch of Clemson fans there too. You can go check them out. They have great fall deals, and really, as I mentioned, support those neighborhood stores and businesses. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square will see you in the neighborhood. All right, segment number 3, final segment of the show. Thank you so much. If you're an everydayer, thank you for hanging with me. I know it's a tough season. I know you're frustrated. I feel your frustrations from today on the radio and from the live show right after the game. And I understand it. And believe me, the coach speak is over with. I mean, the talk of, we're just 1 or 2 plays away is over with. And you never want to go from, think about where you've gone. You've gone from Tuesday, right? Dabo Swinney coming out and basically giving us his resume and reminding us that he's a winner. And if we don't want to win, then he can go somewhere else. Extremely arrogant, in my opinion. Bad look, bad move. And I don't believe Dabo's an arrogant person. I actually think he's a great guy. I think he's a great father. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a great leader amongst men. But it was a poor choice to come off as that cocky in that situation. Humbleness from his part is needed, and I think it's there now, because you saw after the game, he went from that attitude to crying and upset visibly after a loss. And I hate that it had to happen to him because, again, he's a championship coach. He's the best coach Clemson's ever had. And I want him to stay as a coach for Clemson forever, because if you get rid of Dabo Swinney, that is a complete reset of the entire program from the ground up. After this many years at a program, you're going to have to basically wipe the slate clean from, I'm not just talking coaching staff. I'm talking support staff from top to bottom. There's going to have to be a lot because they're all surrounded by Dabo people, and that is a big concern. And that maybe is part of his strategy to be so valuable. But in a lot of ways, Clemson can't do better than Dabo as far as a coach. But he's got to have some sort of self-reflection at this point and decide what he's going to do. He's not going to tell us in the media. He's not going to tell us personally on the radio or call us or answer a text. He's not going to do any of that. He's got to stay extremely positive and keep reminding us that he's going to turn it around. And we're not going to like that because it's not going to be tangible things. But that's what he's got to do. And I think behind closed doors, he's going to have to make some changes and make some adjustments, whether it be with himself or with those around him. The team up and down is one of the worst in 21 years. This is one of the worst starts. And we keep talking about talent, but talented teams or talented players don't play like this. You know, they're not having film like this. I mean, when one player doesn't make a mistake, somebody else is going to make a mistake. When the left tackle messes up, the right tackle does good. When the right tackle messes up, the left tackle, or when the right tackle does good, the left tackle messes up. I mean, not one person, the entire team can't work together. I mean, the offensive line looks terrible. They're falling over each other's feet. The left tackle is probably one of the worst left tackles Clemson's had in recent memory. You know, they constantly missing blocks, just turning around and looking like they don't even touch anybody sometimes. Key blockers in a scheme, in a play, not touching anybody. Wide receivers are dropping passes, and really, honestly, wide receivers are getting open and Cade's not seeing them. Cade's dropping back in the pocket and dropping back too far. He's so far, he's not even in the pocket anymore, and it's causing the outside rushers to have a free range to him. He's dropping back too far. He does not step up in the pocket. That is not something that happens. He's afraid of the pocket. He doesn't keep his feet set ever. I mean, even on the 3 touchdown passes. Now, you could say to me, Mork, he had 363 yards and 3 touchdown passes. Go back and look at those touchdown passes. One, he's on his back foot, falling backwards, jumping off the ground, throwing a lob off of a satellite dish or a satellite in orbit so high, it's not a professional throw, not an NFL throw. He thankfully had Wesco in a one-on-one deep, but it was just a lob. You know, you don't see the elite of quarterbacks throwing passes like that. And a lot of his deeper passes have been that way. Have you noticed that? You remember that pass that we used to brag about with the Tar Heels in the ACC championship game to Cole Turner? That was an absolute lob. It wasn't really a good pass. He just threw it up as high as possible, you know, and the wide receiver comes under it. Thankfully, they're one-on-one in that situation. Cade Klubnik has huge limitations for this team. Not only does he not stay in the pocket, he doesn't have good footwork on passes, but I'm to the point where he's a one-read guy. I don't know if he sees the field. I don't know if he sees the guys that are open because he's looking at one guy, whether he picks them before the snap. More often than not, he does seem to pick them before the snap. Or is the offensive play caller forcing him to pick one player every play? If that's the case, then that's even worse because you don't trust your quarterback. When success happens, it's typically with Adam Randall and then a random pass play that actually works. You know, the guy that they picked to get the ball that play actually is open. That's what basically happens. I don't believe there's much reading of the defense. I think there's a lot of checkdowns, and he's still extremely late. Throws guy behind the player in their feet. Okay, the first pass was a giant rainbow. The second pass that was a touchdown. He had all the time in the world locked in on one guy, which was Adam Randall, and still was never really pressured, constantly backing up, shuffling his feet, waiting for Randall to get open. Randall gets open and he throws it to his ankles, and Randall thankfully caught the ball. It was a bad pass, bad footwork, and not staying in the pocket. He's got happy feet, and it's bad. It's inconsistent, and it's causing everything else to be that way too. He's not staying in the pocket, not keeping his feet set, not throwing good balls. And then what about the third touchdown pass to Bryant Wesco in the end zone? Bryant Wesco was wide open. Again, Cade Klubnik dropped back too far, almost got tackled for a sack because he dropped out of the box or out of the pocket so far back that the edge rushers had a much better angle to attack him on, which they still haven't fixed. He's been doing this for years. And so because he's about to get tackled, he jumps. He does a jump throw off of his back foot. And Wesco has to fall to the ground to catch it, even though Wesco was wide open. Another thing, too, he waited way too long. Wesco was open immediately at the crossing route. At the time of crossing, he was wide open. Cade just cannot throw a guy open. He cannot throw to a spot. He has to see the guy. He has to wait and see the guy wide open, then throw. You got a QB problem at Clemson. They don't want to admit it. They say he's the best guy possible. You don't want to use Christopher Vizina. Well, if you're not using Christopher Vizina or Chris Denson or whoever else you got, at this point, I don't want to see them in 2026. Maybe Chris Denson because he's young, but Christopher Vizina has been around for so long and you're not going to use him at all. I mean, that makes no sense. As off as this quarterback is, as your starting quarterback is, as bad as he's been playing, and you don't even want to use Christopher Vizina at all. Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I trust what's going on. I'm not sure that I understand the solution here. And it really goes back to, what are they going to do? If you're not going to sit the players and hold them accountable, you're going to keep patting them on the helmet and tell them good job even after they did bad, then what do you really do? These are the players that you have. And as an LSU fan told me preseason before the game, he said, Morgan, I know you're excited about your team and all that returning productivity. But have you ever thought about the fact that this returning productivity lost all 4 of their most difficult games in 2024? They could not win their big games in 2024. So what does that say about a team that you're returning 80% of guys who could not win their big games? Well, what we're seeing is that was more true than we wanted to admit. And what we're seeing is that other teams around are replenishing and refreshing their rosters, while Clemson's keeping who they have, and they're not getting any better. Treading water, it's definitely treading water while everybody else is swimming forward. How can Clemson reset from this? Well, to me, if you don't do something drastic like force them to not rub Howard's Rock, then you got to bench players. And what we're hearing is they're not going to do that either. So I really don't know what the solution is at this point, other than to hope that the team can use the bye week to rally the troops. Maybe there's a leader on the team that can say, you know what, enough is enough. And as Dabo mentioned, they have 8 games to go. They can just play an 8-game season and forget about the other 4. Unfortunately, though, the rest of us can't forget about being 1-3. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. This is another big moment for Locked On. Have you gone over to Fire TV? Have you gone over there and checked it out? I have a Fire TV stick, and I have gone over to their free TV section. And on the college section, they have college football, and all the college football stuff is littered with Locked On stuff. Every single local guy you want to listen to, local guy or girl that does Locked On, you can see them. And plus, they have the College Football Kickoff Show, your ultimate football weekly preview show. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12, who does a great job with Big 12, is leading the conversation alongside Gary Patterson, 2-time AP Coach of the Year, and Jesse Holley, former college star, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview that only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Hey, Tiger fans, I appreciate you for being a part of the show. As always, we'll see you tomorrow. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you can sit here and be here in my misery with me as we go throughout the season. There's still a lot of games left to play. Maybe those ticket prices will go down so we can go watch them. But as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see you at the top of the hill.